We have a great Browns film breakdown show for you today. We're going to talk through some of the recent Browns related news, league-wide news. We have a discussion on AI in the NFL. A lot of great things have come out recently, and just like I said, some noteworthy, newsworthy pieces that we should talk about as well. And then we'll close today's pod for our Browns film breakdown subscribers with some more insights into the offensive nuggets that I was able to pull out of the end of summer sessions, OTAs, training camp, and what is the buzz around the franchise and some players within. So stick around. Great show on this Wednesday. Browns Film Breakdown starts right now. Welcome into today's show, Browns Film Breakdown, Wednesday, June 25th. I'm Jake Burns, your host, and a lot of great things to talk about, like I said, and we're going to get to them. Before we do, it's a few days left in the month of June, 30% off, lasts until the end of this month. Take advantage of it. We have some awesome opportunities to lock in the 2025 season and then all of the 26 off-season cycle free agency, the draft, all of it. You get that at a discounted rate. You can follow the link in the description of this pod to get in. Join us. Join the community. Get the Substack app on your phone. Everything delivered to that and your email. You get a great Browns community chat that is involved every day with topics around the Browns in there. And then if you want to be a founding member, you have some awesome opportunities to join a specific Slack channel that I'm in that is constant and nonstop Browns banter all day, every day. You get the hat just like is on my head. You can also get the white version of the hat that's on my head too. That will be delivered to you as well. So again, founding member or regular member, you have an opportunity to get into brownsfilmbreakdown.com. And I think you should do that. It's great stuff. Really proud of it. I think you'll love it. All right. Today, I got a notebook in front of me that's got everything because there's a lot of stuff that has happened. I want to talk you through. So first thing I wanted to hit on is, and it's pulled up to the right of me on this screen here, is the AI is coming to the NFL article that The Athletic put out. Josh Kendall, great article, man. I want to give you credit. I have felt like, and this is just me in my own little bubble, that AI is moving at a rate between illustration, between design, between conversation, between answering questions. It's moved at a rate that I'm not good. I'm not good with AI. I'm not good with all of the moving opportunity, the chat GPTs of the world. I'm trying to figure out how to use it to simplify my life and give me some stuff that, sort of shaves time here and there and makes your life more enjoyable. I've even found some of these podcast platforms will have you be able to type things out and it does enough listening to your voice that it can render your voice in something you type out. I haven't done it yet. Maybe I'll do it someday and you won't even know. But that is all moving quickly. And it's no different in the world of the NFL, which is a place that is evolving constantly. And if you have paid attention to things surrounding the NFL, it is always a place looking for the next cutting edge advantage. Now, over the years, it's been finding the right coach that has ways of thinking that is different and unique to everybody else, right? There's a bunch of ways the NFL has tried to cut corners, analytics groups that have been on the cutting edge of decision-making on fourth downs and different things, going for two when you're down 8 points instead of kicking the PATs, then you can have a chance to win it with your next score and when to go for the field goal. There's a lot. It's creeped in. Now we know the football world has not been as ingrained in analytics as other sports because basketball and baseball and in large part hockey, and I'm sure this is very prevalent in soccer, is like less let me be careful. I just want to kind of be careful with how I say this, but there's less ambiguity, probably the way to say it, because football has so many more dynamic roles and so many more bodies on the field doing different things, whereas those other sports are very fine-tuned into how they operate in terms of very finite rules. So football is behind that. And this article talks about this, how the Browns are leading the NFL with a department of 10 people in their analytics group. There's only like 3 or 4 organizations that have more than 3 people. And again, it's all laid out here. You can find the direct link to this article. You do have to have a Athletic subscription to read the article, but I'll provide the link in the description of the pod so you can jump in and read it. I would encourage you to, because what it's talking about is predictive context. So as AI can be built to have conversations and shape decision-making and do a bunch of different things, illustrations, et cetera, what the football world is trying to do is to get football to talk to this thing where it's watching and absorbing and then spitting things back to you that makes sense. Now, the first way that this can be a really productive tool is in film study, right? If a coach has to do, let's go through a hypothetical. If you are, say, an offensive or defensive coordinator breaking down the other side of the ball, you're typically breaking down several different aspects of a single play, right? What's the coverage? What's the front? What's the movement post snap? What's the look pre snap? There's like 7 or 8 things you're doing breaking down a single play to get a scouting look, an edge based on what you do, right? But if AI can give you a predictive tool that tells you, hey, they're in this coverage on this play, and you only have to study one other part of it, that's wildly beneficial, right? If AI can give you a tool that will tell you, hey, based on this player's alignment pre-snap, there's a 75% chance they're running cover 3. That's wildly helpful, right? If there's a tool that tells you, hey, based on this personnel group, just a quick reminder, they're running this coverage based on this personnel group, et cetera, et cetera. Where it struggles is obviously knowing the separators between certain aspects of probability, right? And it notes this in the article. 4th and 1 with Mike Vick and say whatever running back, Warwick Dunn, is a little different than 4th and 1 with Kirk, Cousins and whatever, Bijan Robinson, because you have the quarterback run element. There's just different things that, so long story short, what this article is trying to do and tell you about, and there's a lot of good stuff going on in the big data bowl, is basically like they're trying to get this. And I know the Browns have been involved in this too. Computer models that are basically AI learning, taking things that are viewed either through the scope of film input into the system, or even this talks about how some of the 8K cameras that are going to be in that whole Skyhawk thing the NFL is using, which is like, I think 6 8K cameras. I could be wrong on that number, but it's 6 or 8 or 4. Could be just 4. But that's how they're using tracking first downs this year. If they ever sort of put that data into the world of computer analysis, AI analysis, what that could be able to pull out, and give an advantage for teams or whatever, learn the football model. But there are great models I've seen that look at like what teams do in pass rush, how their blitz packages work based on pre-snap alignment. There's stuff out there, like I said, trying to identify coverage looks based on where one player is aligned pre-snap as a key indicator. This is going to move rapidly. And what this does talk about is how there are going to be eventually coaches' positions that are replaced by these tools. And the football world is going to grow like crazy in it, because every part of football is about trying to take your weaknesses and turn them into advantages. And I think they've been a little slow to this in analytics and AI, but it is moving more in that direction. Even this article focuses on Pete Carroll, who's 73 years old, trying to be on the cutting edge of this. And there will be some coaches who are not, who won't do it, who want the old school approach. But then there are going to be places who use this, leverage it, and use it in a way that is going to push them forward. And the tools that are being created, everything around the big data bowl, which is happening every year, which is using predictive analysis based on what they've seen teams do over large sample sizes that can be consumed and broken down quickly, as opposed to coaches spending long hours grinding, staying up, not sleeping. This is the thing it's helping, sharpening the mind, being quicker with your analysis, and being able to pull things that matter from AI's ability to watch, cut, and decide, right? As of right now, from kickoff to the final whistle, you are not allowed to have anybody in your headset AI based. So you can't have like, hey, this play is the play that we should be running based on like an AI voice talking to you, telling you, walking you through that. That's not a thing right now. That is something the NFL has outlawed. But after the final whistle to the next kickoff, everything is open. You can use whatever tools you can find to be beneficial. And again, it points in here like putting in prompts like, hey, analyze every drive that resulted in a first down and tell us the key indicators of what helped us achieve the first down, versus analyze every drive that didn't render a first down and what were the aspects that led to the failure. Like, this is going to, I'm not even, I know like 2%. Like, this is going to grow like crazy. And it is something to seriously monitor, because I think it's going to have a huge impact on the NFL in the next 10 years. I really do, because the stuff being produced at these data bowls that the NFL sponsors are crazy cutting edge things that I think NFL teams are going to be pulling from, and they're going to be using heavily for their decision-making. And I do think in the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to hear the NFL start to absorb some of this AI tech and put it into play on the field for teams, if you can find a way to use it. I think that's going to be a huge part of decision-making. Next thing is Aaron Rodgers. He's on the Pat McAfee show. Nothing crazy to report here other than he says this is more than likely his last season. That's why it's a 1-year deal. Pittsburgh didn't do any more years tacked onto it because they feel like they're aligned in that vision. And I don't have anything to add to that, because I think most of us thought that, but I do think it's really sad for people in the, 30 to 50 range, probably a little too broad, but like, this is the end of an era. When Rodgers is done and he's the last of his kind, Came in the league, what, 04, 05? No, it was later than that. I think it was 07, 06, 07, something like that. Like, that's it. The Breeze, the Manning, the Brady, Rodgers will be in that group, but then you're talking Roethlisberger, Rivers, Eli Manning, all of those guys are done. Like, Rodgers is the last connective tissue to the old quarterback guard. Now, there's a new one that is thriving. We see that. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Burrow, Mahomes, all of them. We see it. But Rodgers is it. I think the transition started in like that 2010-ish 9 era, 9-10 with Stafford. Like, Stafford's the closest to that group. And you could probably throw, Flacco into that territory as well, that 08 territory, where Flacco gets drafted. I mean, Flacco was never at that level, but he won Super Bowl and had a lot of good seasons. But yeah, I mean, like, the Flacco Stafford is the next era. And when Rodgers is done, that feels like the end of my childhood quarterback love affair, like all of those guys. So that sucks. That's all I have to add to it, other than I'm going to miss that era of quarterbacks. And I think you have your opinion on Aaron Rodgers. I do too. I don't know what this is going to look like in Pittsburgh this year, but I do know it's a bummer that he's done, because when he was going, you might not agree with me. That's fine. When Aaron was at his best, I've never seen someone play the position with such an ease, effortless, accurate, flick of the wrist, one of the most gifted throwers of a football I've ever seen. And you never would have thought that coming out of Cal, man. He used to hold that thing. Jeff Tedford, his head coach, had him holding that thing up near his ear, and then he rewrote his mechanics, changed it all. This lightning quick delivery that has influenced a ton of modern quarterbacks. Even, like, look at the guys that played with him and how they mimic his throwing style. And it is influencing quarterback tutelage. I want to have a longer discussion with some important people on this, but his way, front toe tap, quick twitch, style of throwing is very unique, and again, is reshaping the younger generation of quarterback trainers. So we'll get to that. Aaron Rodgers, though, the guard of quarterbacks, we're going to miss you. David Njoku, I didn't talk about this. Tight end U is going on right now, and wanted to update you that 2 Browns tight ends, Harold Fane not there, but David Njoku did show up, was not in the pictured list of guests. He's been there in the past, but he is there. NFL posted a video, so David Njoku is there doing some stuff at Vanderbilt at tight end U, which I always think is a very good thing. And Blake Whiteheart also there. Blake Whiteheart, I like. Wake Forest product. I like him. Had a nice couple moments last year. Hope he does have some similar moments this year. All right. Other thing, cold weather, right? We got a couple things of for Pittsburgh receivers. George Pickens in the news, canceled his camp, right? He had a camp set up, people bought tickets for, experience for, doing a bunch of different things. And he was the main frontline part of that. And George Pickens decided, even after committing post-trade, they reached out to him and talked to him and said, hey, man, would you still come in and do the camp, even though you're no longer a part of the Pittsburgh organization? He said he would. And it was supposed to happen, I think, like this week. And he decided to bail, decided he wasn't going. And I don't know how much to add to that. Pretty shitty thing to do. And I would like to think that you would honor that. But George Pickens is a polarizing personality that I will miss having implode the Pittsburgh Steelers from the inside of that organization with his decision making. So the Steelers had some people step up. Pat Freiermuth and some others will be there. So I know you're all super concerned about that. But the Pickens camp thing is pretty rough. And it's a bad look. But they got it solved, right? They got it solved. Other thing, I want to make sure I'm making everything update-wise that we've talked through recently. I am going to get to the NFL collusion stuff, the Pablo Torre podcast and analysis there with PFT, and Florio. I'm going to get to that. Probably do that in a separate podcast. So we will talk through that, because there's a lot of Brown stuff. Treader and their decision to give Deshaun Watson the fully guaranteed contract. Like, there's just a bunch of Browns connective tissue in there, but sweeping the news cycle is that the NFL's keeping that very quiet, the ruling from an arbitrator on that. So that's the end of that. Like I said, I promise I will get to that one. Other than that, I think I've covered everything for my topic list. The last thing was another Deontay Johnson quote that is quite fascinating. The troubled, not troubled. I mean, he's just the attitude has been interesting. There's nothing he's done off the field. There's nothing any of that. But Deontay Johnson, I talked about him recently, mentioning that he was the belief that Kenny Pickett would be the quarterback. He could just be talking out of his rear end on that. Who knows? I think that that's the most likely case. Former teammate wanting to put in a good word that he thought it would be there. But Johnson was also on, I don't know if it was a podcast he was on recently. Actually, it looks like he was on a podcast where he talked about he mentally checked out last year from both the Ravens and Texans. He refused to go into a game. So we haven't really gotten much from him. It looks like he was on a sports podcast of some kind, the title of which I cannot see in front of me. Forgive me, podcast out there that I might be missing on some headline. But he did go into his reasoning for not playing with Baltimore that got him suspended, and ultimately they let him go. This is where the relationship soured after the trade that sent him to Baltimore. You'd think that was a great situation to arrive in after the Panthers' disastrous start to the year. You go to Baltimore, you got a chance to chase a ring. But the sort of situation that happened is it was 41 degrees out in a game he wasn't playing in until halftime or post halftime, maybe third quarter. And he said he didn't want to play. He said, and I quote, "I wasn't getting into no run plays, no passing plays or nothing. It was cold," Johnson said, into the third, going into the fourth. And they were like, "Tay, we need you." I was like, "Nah, I don't think it's a good idea for me. Like, my legs are already ice cold and I didn't want to go out there and put bad stuff on film. It's not like I didn't want to go into the game, but leading up to this point, I had been through so much." I'm presuming he's talking about the trade and not playing for Baltimore the way he maybe anticipated. "I told them I'm not going to go in. So I just sat on the bench, and that's when they suspended me." That would ruin a relationship, right? I understand his opinion. His legs are cold. It's the third going into fourth quarter. He hasn't played. It's near freezing. Listen, 40 degrees isn't that cold, in Ohio here. But I do understand where he's coming. Not that he's right, but where he's coming from, in that he's like, "Hey man, I haven't played all day. And now we're in the third, like we've sat through the third quarter post halftime warm up. I have nothing good to put on tape." And like, the NFL is a business. He knows he's got to put some good things on tape, or at least try to, in order to get some team to get a hold of him and get another contract somewhere next year. I would think you would be trying to do that in Baltimore, where you're again chasing a ring and they need as many good wide receivers as they can. And they gave up draft capital to get you, but he chose opposite. That had an impact on his season. He gets suspended, ultimately let go, and then is a free agent with only one team reaching out, and that's the Browns. Not what you want. I mean, you pair this with how his opinion was on playing in a perfect situation in Baltimore for him to chase a ring, compare that to a little bit of like skipping OTAs before mandatory minicamp. And I'm just like, this is a choice. This is an Andrew Berry type of choice where he's the only guy that reached out to him. Now, maybe this refocuses Diontae in a serious way. And hey, only one NFL team reached out to me. It's the Browns, not the most historically successful in the last 25 years organization. You've seen it up close and personal in Pittsburgh. This is going to go one of two ways, and I'm pretty firm on this. He's either going to flame out in training camp preseason and be cut, and the contract won't matter. They signed something very safe for themselves. Or he's going to be a real contributor and have a nice season because he's had a reality check that has pushed him into like, I have to do everything I do from now on is me making money in the NFL. I got to do right. I got to be there. I got to show up and do the right thing. One would hope, and that's what Andrew Berry is hoping, that that's the outcome they get. But it does not feel likely based on how the ending went in Carolina, how the ending went in Baltimore, and then the lack of any league-wide interest in a player that on tape, the Carolina tape, he can still play. He can still separate. He can still run routes. He can still catch the football. But if the rest of the league is like that, this is an Andrew Berry type of Kadarius Toney decision where nobody else wants him. We'll try him out because there's still talent, but not many of these work out. Not many work out. The odds are against Deontay Johnson being meaningful. We are going to take a break now after all of that roundup of news. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the notes I wrote around the Browns offense, the things I've learned from folks I've spoke with around the vibes about OTAs and minicamp, and where some of the players stand, where the offense rewriting is. There will be a defense article posted today as well, but I want to get the offense one with some discussion around it. Dig in a little deeper. We'll do that. You got to be with us, though. You got to be a subscriber. So this is the end of the regular pod. If you are not oversubscribed with us, if you would like to subscribe, remember 30% off. Come over and join us. Link in the podcast to do so. And you can unlock the full podcast every day and no ads, which is great. Nobody likes ads. So there won't be any of those either. So come over, unlock it every day. Even if you're just a podcast listener, you would really enjoy it. So let's do that. If you're on the free side, that's it for today. If you are on the sub side, you want to hear more about those offense notes, stick around after a quick word from our sponsor.